Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Ro here. Thank you for visiting You Grow Ro. If this is your first time here, I hope you'll consider subscribing at the end of this video. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you. Today, I'm walking you through all the pepper varieties I'm growing this summer and, more importantly, why I chose each one. If you've been around here for a while, you know I love growing peppers with a purpose. Some of these are for specific products I make, some are for experiments, and some are just because they're weird and wonderful and I couldn't resist. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's talk peppers in a moment. Okay, first up is Tabasco, and this one has a whole backstory. Now, I've grown Tabascos in the greenstalk before, right on the top tier, and they absolutely thrived. The plants held up beautifully, they stayed sturdy even in the wind, and they were as prolific as ever. Now, over the years, we've realized that our favorite homemade hot sauce is one made predominantly from Tabasco peppers. Nothing else really hits the same, and right now, I'm completely out. Can't believe it. So, growing Tabascos this year isn't optional, it's a restock mission. I have to. I've also had 3 separate people ask me for more of the Tabasco vinegar I made 2 years ago. If you're from the South, you already know, but they keep that pepper vinegar right on the restaurant table. I guess people kind of dash it over their greens or their beans or their meat, really everything, I think. I think they just call it pepper sauce, so I'll be making another batch of that too. It's classic, it's reliable, and perfect for fermenting. I'm growing these specifically for homemade hot sauce. They're productive, they're spicy without being overwhelming, and they give that Louisiana style flavor. Next is Tobago Seasoning, one of my favorite low heat peppers. These are honestly hilarious because you can prank your friends and family with them. They look exactly like habaneros and even have that same fruity kind of floral aroma, but basically there's no heat. So they're known for this really unique, smoky, fruity flavor, but it works well whether you're pickling or making salsa or even hot sauce if you want all of the flavor without the burn. Now, I'm planning to use mine mainly for seasoning blends this year, but any of those other applications would work just as well. I'm also growing the Carlo Paprika, and honestly, every single website I visited said the exact same thing about this pepper, which is rare. They all described Carlo as semi-hot and semi-sweet, the perfect balance for homemade paprika. The fruits start out a light yellow and ripen to red. They're thick-walled. They hold up beautifully to roasting, and apparently the plants are incredibly productive. I've grown paprika peppers before, but never this variety, so I'm excited to try something new this year. And if you're curious about how I make my homemade paprika powder using really any red, sweet, or hot peppers you have, I'll link to the video I made a couple of years ago that walking people through that whole process. And then there's Barbie Doll Cayenne, which I actually got through a seed trade in the Pepper Lovers Collective Facebook group. I haven't been able to find much information on its origin, but I did track down some photos, and wow. These peppers start out at a light green kinda and ripen to this bold, like fire engine red. They also look long, like 9 to 12 inches long if they're grown in ideal conditions. I found a handful of other people who got the same seeds through trades, and they all said the flavor and the heat were incredible. So now I'm even more excited to try this variety myself. Now, depending on how they turn out, I'll probably use them for hot sauce, red pepper flakes, or seasoning blends. I'm growing King of the North Improved again this year because I actually grew it last season. And even though I neglected my garden pretty badly, these plants still held up really well for me. The fruits weren't exceptionally large by any means, but the sweetness was absolutely there. And they still did produce, despite the lack of attention that I gave them. This year, I'm planning to give my garden a lot more care, and I'm starting quite a few plants because I'd love to grow enough to get me through the winter. I generally freeze this type of pepper in two ways. So it's either going to be strips or diced or both, because those are the forms that I use the most in cooking. And having a big stash of both in the freezer would be fantastic. Now, I'm thinking with more attention and more plants, I'm expecting a better yield and even better overall product. These are perfect for freezing, and I'm excited to see what they can do when I'm actually on my A game. Aloha peppers are just beautiful. They're striped, multicolored, and sweet. They should freeze well, and honestly, they just make me happy. I've not grown them or tasted them before. I got these seeds in a trade as well, but the person I traded with made no mention of the flavor or the production of this pepper, so it will all be new to me. I'm trialing the Merrimack Bell this year to see how it handles cooler nights. If it performs well, it might become one of my go-to peppers for freezing. It's also known as the Merrimack Wonder, I believe. At any rate, it's apparently an early maturing, cold hardy heirloom developed by the University of New Hampshire back in the 1940s, specifically for northern climates. It was bred to set fruit in cool weather, and it really shows. It produces blocky, thick-walled green to red peppers in about 60 days, which is incredibly fast compared to the usual 75 to 90 days for a bell pepper in a normal timeline. It's ideal for short-season northern and New England gardeners, which is exactly why I'm trying it this year. I want to see how it handles my cooler nights and my unpredictable weather. And honestly, part of the appeal is the story. So from what I understand, this variety almost went extinct. Yeah, but enthusiastic growers, people like me, are bringing it back. And I love the idea of helping preserve a regional heirloom, while I'm also going to be testing its cold hardiness and seeing if it earns a permanent spot in my freezer pepper lineup. Okay, Emerald Giant is my choice for large green peppers to freeze. They're big, they're blocky, and they're dependable. This will be my first time growing them, but I have heard nothing but great things about them, so I'm looking forward to getting this out into the garden this year. And then there's the King George hybrid, which supposedly produces huge bells. These are going straight into the freezer for fajitas, stir fry, and winter cooking. Again, I will basically be chopping these into strips and dices. I'll be growing the Mammoth Jalapeños specifically for jalapeno poppers. These things get massive, which makes them perfect for stuffing. I froze jalapeno poppers last year and we loved them, but we ate them much faster than I anticipated. And even though it's just me now, they were so easy to pull out for a quick snack or if we were having people over. So I definitely want to up my production of large jalapenos for more and more poppers to go in my freezer. Along that same vein, Megatron is another big jalapeno variety. I'm growing it alongside the Mammoth to compare the size, productivity, and flavor for poppers. I read one article where a woman said that she'd grown 10 varieties of jalapenos, and as far as she was concerned, the flavor between them wasn't all that distinguishable, and I found that odd. You would at least think that they would have variable heat levels. Anyways, at any rate, I'm going to grow 3 varieties and see for myself. The third variety of jalapeno I'll be growing is my brown jalapeno, and it'll be grown from my own saved seeds. I've had great success with this line before, so it's coming back for another season. These plants produced until like December 2 years ago, and they got very large for me. I was really excited about them, and I'm expecting similar results this year. I use them mainly for hot sauce, but like any other pepper, they're versatile. You can use them in any way you like. I gave many people this past year some of my home saved seeds, so hopefully we will all have abundant harvests. And just for funsies, I'm growing the fish pepper, mostly for the foliage. The variegation is just stunning, and the peppers themselves are great for cream-based sauces because if I harvest them before they ripen, they'll be lighter in color. Now, I'm slightly worried about the heat level of this variety because I hear tell it can range from medium to super spicy, and unfortunately, I'm not so into super spicy foods, so I'm hoping for more of the medium level hotness. Thunder Mountain is one of those peppers you grow just because it looks unreal. The pods can reach like dramatic curly lengths, often supposedly getting 12 to 15 inches or more, and they're just fun to watch develop on the plant. It has a moderate heat level, usually around 20,000 to 40,000 Scoville heat units, similar to a cayenne but with a sweeter, fruitier, complex flavor. Traditionally, the Thunder Mountain peppers are dried, smoked, and powdered for seasoning meats and sauces, but I'm sure the uses are incredibly versatile. They'd be excellent in general cooking, sauces, meats, and fish dishes. Honestly, it's one of those peppers that's as ornamental as it is useful, which is exactly why I'm looking forward to growing it. Diamond Sweet is a pale, almost white pepper, and last year I grew it specifically for a white spaghetti sauce I wanted to make. That didn't happen. But this year I just want to grow it for the variety. I'm also curious about the taste of it too. Cherry stuffer. These little round peppers are perfect for stuffing with pico de gallo or orzo salad. Those were the two I usually did. But you could do cheese. They're adorable and super versatile. And Hybrid Taquito. This one is going in my green stalk. I've grown it before. It's compact, it's productive, and is perfect for vertical gardening. It's a hot pepper that sort of builds, but not overly hot. I was perfectly content throwing these into fresh salads or even cooking them. This will be my first time growing them in soil. Previously, I've only ever grown them hydroponically. Speaking of growing in the green stalk, I may even start a few, Pipeno plants to see how they do in the green stalk. I've grown it before, but I grew it in an aerial garden, and this time I would like to give it a try in a green stalk, so I may even do that. But as I always tell you guys when I do these types of videos, just because I start the seeds doesn't mean it's going to make it out into the garden. But one can hope, right? So that's my current pepper lineup for this summer. It's a mix of like practical, experimental, beautiful, and weird, just like how I like it. If you're going peppers this year, tell me which varieties you're excited about. And if you want updates on how these perform, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the harvest and product making videos. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. And I will see you all in another video on another day. Until then, happy growing, my friends.